My name is Jen Budney, and I am in my final year of my PhD in public policy. My research is looking at institutional change and specifically how organizations and institutions, publicly funded organizations, can build their public value, whether or not the frontline workers of these organizations are in a position to offer insight and instigate change towards building better public value, and how they might do so. My case studies are all art museums, which are facing a crisis in terms of attendance and funding and I would say governance as well. I'm interviewing the frontline workers of these organizations, art museum educators, all of whom have high levels of education, see people, members of the public, on a daily basis, and who often are not, mostly are not invited to the table when strategic plans are made, when decision making, important decisions are being made in terms of the directions and the programs and main goals of the organization. I'm using a combination of an online survey to members of the Canadian Art Gallery Educators organization and case studies at 5 art museums that are making change. My online survey was made for a very specific target group, and I was lucky enough to make the acquaintance of the head of the Canadian Art Gallery Educators organization, and so with a few conversations I was able to establish a relationship with her and to get permission to access their database to reach out to their members and to offer the survey. I used Fluid Survey and I built the survey myself. There is a lab here on campus where you can work with people to build online surveys, and I decided to do it myself, thinking it would save me time. I'm glad I did the survey myself. It didn't save me any time. It took about 3 to 4 months of work to find the right questions, to teach myself the software, to test the survey and to edit it and to rewrite it, and then to cut it down to the right length. So it was a very laborious process. Fluid Survey has a series of tutorials for basically any question you would have about how to build the survey. There's a short video telling you how to do it. So I think I probably watched all of them and was able to teach myself that way. When I ran into problems, I would send them queries and they were very quick to get back to me with answers, or I'd put out questions on Facebook to friends who might have more experience than I do building online surveys, and I got some useful feedback that way as well about problems I was running into. I also read a lot about how to construct good surveys, and did a course through Coursera, through University of Michigan, on questionnaire building good questionnaires. So a lot of work went into just the technicalities of it. My survey is now complete, and I got about, I would say, 60% response rate from the members of the organization I was targeting. So I'm pretty happy with that. I would have liked 100%. But I did end up extending my deadline twice, and Fluid Survey has a really nice reminder tool, so you can send out reminders to people who have received the invitation to do the survey that time is running out. So I used that 3 times to get more responses. I also offered incentives, which were books, artists' catalogs for the first 20 people to complete the survey. And then I devised various reasons to justify giving out more and more. So basically everyone who completed the survey is going to get a package in the mail from me. The biggest surprise for me, the biggest challenge, was how long it takes to make a good survey. I worked with a focus group before putting the survey together. I worked with 3 senior art museum educators to come up with a kind of framework for questions and ideas around the kinds of questions I would want to ask. That was a full day process. Then the process of actually constructing the questions themselves, aside from learning the software, took a very long time. I tested the survey on 4 to 5 individuals and received a great deal of feedback from all of them, and was very disappointed when I finally had the survey I wanted, and people tested it out and told me that it took an hour to complete, and I was told that nobody would do it. Nobody in this field had enough time to devote an hour, and I needed to cut it down to no more than 30 minutes. So the average time for completion of my survey was 36 minutes in the end. So I did cut it basically in half to achieve that. I think I have enough data for my survey now. I know this is just the beginning of some follow-ups. I did do in my case studies extended interviews with about 8 art museum educators that explored some of the questions I was asking in the survey more in depth. But for the general, the bulk of my research for my PhD is not coming from the online survey, but I wanted to have the data to back up some of the arguments, the claims that I'm making that will be more fully explored in the case studies. The online survey is very important as I guess evidence in the larger research question that I'm asking, the opinions and attitudes and ideas and the observations of the frontline workers of the organizations, to show that to demonstrate that a majority of people occupying these positions in the organizations I'm studying feel a certain way about their organizations, I think backs up my argument that frontline workers do have particular insights that could be of great benefit if they were brought to the decision-making table. I think that I was very lucky in that I had a particular organization that I could target that was small enough, with a fairly small membership, and contained, and with a database that I could access to get contact information. The big issue with the online surveys, I think, is being able to make contact with the people you want to contact, how to access them, and how to encourage them to respond to the survey. So there are ways working with nonprofit organizations and cooperatives that you could narrow the focus of your research to a specific industry or specific retail sector, and find your contacts that way. Trying to put online surveys out to the world in general is more challenging, and I have seen a lot of people trying to do research for their master's degrees, particularly resorting to surveying students, and there are limitations to the kind of generalizability of the results you get through surveying students, but they're an easier group to target since they're your own cohorts. I would say if you're going to create an online survey as part of your research, give yourself a great deal of time to do so. Find out what makes for a good online survey. The order of questions and the order of potential responses that you, the way that you order your multiple choice responses are going to be different for a telephone survey or a face-to-face survey or an online survey. Find out what those differences are. There's some great resources out there. And give yourself a great deal of time for building the survey and testing it before you deploy it. I would recommend to students, if they feel intimidated by the idea of taking on the whole project of learning the software themselves, to contact the Social Science Research Lab here on campus and get some help there. It still is going to take a long time. It still might take 3 months to actually build your survey. It will also cost you some money. Fluid Survey is free through University of Saskatchewan, so I didn't have to pay anything for building my survey, but it cost me a lot in terms of time. Contacting the SSRL is a great choice for people who are intimidated by learning the software.